Hello, everyone. My guest today is Chris Rothstein. He is the CEO and co-founder of Groove, a sales and engagement platform. Before Groove, he built, scaled, and managed enterprise sales teams at Google. Chris, are you ready to take us to the top?
Yes, I am. Thanks.
All right. You threw your hat in a very hot war. So tell us what Groove does and what's your revenue model? How do you make money?
Yeah, so we are a sales engagement platform, as you said. Really what we do is we help sales teams be more effective, understand what's going on and repeat their process and make it more consistent across their sales team. We make money in a very traditional SaaS model, just pure SaaS.
Pure SaaS. And without going down kind of every cohort, what would you say the average company pays per month?
The average is probably around 13,000.
Okay, 13,000 per month. And so this means it sounds like selling maybe multiple seats to a team. How many seats usually per team?
Yeah, we really focus on 30 and above, but we scale up to our largest customer has about 7,000 seats, and then we have our 8,000 now, and we have a bunch above 1,000.
Okay, so about 13,000 per month on average is payment. I mean, that would actually, I would say, put you kind of more into kind of mid-market enterprise level versus some of these more starter programs.
Yep.
Yeah, very cool. Let's kind of put this on a timeline. When did you launch the company? What year?
Yeah, so I left Google technically in 2012, but we really focused on this in 2014. And then we really, I would say, started monetizing more in 2015.
Okay, and who's we?
My co-founder and I were at Google, and then our first hire was also from Google.
I bet Google loved you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. They're a customer as well. So
yeah. Well, that's good. Describe the makeup of the founding team. So what's your role? What's his or her role?
Yep. Yeah. So we had three co-founders. All of us can code, and all of us have sold. So we're kind of a weird mix.
It's a good mix, Chris. I would say that's not weird. That's very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So we love selling. We've done kind of sales engineering roles. I've built sales teams, but I also like to code in my free time. And then my co-founders are the same way. So we're all a little bit of both.
Self-taught coding?
Yeah. Two of us are self-taught. One has a master's in CS.
How'd you teach yourself?
Just literally, I had always worked on it, but then when I quit in 2012, I just coded every day for almost a year and a half.
That's amazing. Did you use like Code Academy or Treehouse or any of these tools?
No, just online, just read online and built stuff.
That's great. You're a problem solver. All right, 2014, and then scale it up to today. So how many companies on the platform today?
Today we're a little over 400.
Okay, that's pretty good. And those are all paid, no free accounts?
Yep, no free.
And bootstrapped or raised?
We were bootstrapped for, until we raised the small round in 2015. And then we've just a note, and then we've raised the official one price round. So 3.8 million in funding.
Total.
Yep.
That's great. Okay, so 3.8 million. Now, if I take 400, customers times that monthly average of 13 grand. I mean, that puts you at like 5.2 million a month. Is that accurate?
Yep, we're in that ballpark.
Okay,
yep.
Very cool. So the reason I kind of asked that with skepticism is because I would actually put you in a very rare category in terms of if you take your ARR and divide that, by your funding. Most people have less ARR than what they've raised total. You're very much the opposite.
Yes, we're very, very conservative. Originally, my co-founder and I wanted to bootstrap always. We were planning on, we saved up money. We went down that road for a while. We built up, and with that our first 800K, we became profitable. We hit over $1 million in revenue with that. But then we're like, we can grow faster, and we should grow faster. So that's why we raised that money. But we're still, I would say, slightly abnormal, at least for the value.
You're definitely abnormal. I've done about 3,000 of these interviews, and I can say with emphasis, you are definitely not the norm. So what about growth rate? A year ago, what were you at run rate wise?
A year ago, about 2 million.
Okay, so you more than doubled year over year.
Yeah, we've more than double every year.
That's great. And where has most of that growth come from? Is it expansion revenue across the same accounts or brand new customers?
That's a great question. It's almost exactly split. It changes month because we still get large deals here and there. But almost always it's 50-50. Almost exactly.
Yep. And what do you anticipate? So right now, if you're doing 5 million a month, what is that? 60 million a year? I mean,
no, sorry, 5 million ARR.
So. Oh, that's okay, good. I was wondering. I was going to say this is like. No, this makes you like a very much not Silicon Valley company.
Oh,
your ARPU you gave me, that was not monthly. That was an ACV.
Yeah, ACV. Yes.
Got it. That's where the misnomer was.
I was like, okay, no. That would be very, very nice.
Yeah. So just to be clear, you're doing about 450 grand a month today. That's up from about 200 grand a month a year ago.
Yep.
That's great. Okay. Still, but by the way, still healthy. So you're still doing more revenue than what you've raised.
Yes, exactly.
Talk to me what now, when you look at kind of expansion revenue, usually companies at your stage, they have very clear pricing axes that allow them to drive expansion. And usually it's like a seat model, a feature model, and a kind of data usage model. What are your axes?
Yep. Yeah, we have kind of two. We grow seats, obviously, but then we have a modular element. So you buy into our platform fee, and then after that, you can add on different elements: a dialer, an unlimited SKU, a SMS, and all these different things. So you add on these, and that's kind of how we upsell. We honestly haven't even focused on upsell. Most of it's been natural growth to date.
Interesting. Okay, so that flat though initial fee, that is like a base recurring fee, and then you can add on top. Is that accurate?
Yep. And all the add-ons are also reoccurring fees as well. It's just you can enable other parts of the platform.
And basically, so if I have 100 seats and I'm paying you for the base thing, and each one is $20 a seat, if I add on the cost scheduler, it's like adds $5 per seat across the whole account.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful thing if it happens. Is no touch a lot of it?
A lot of, and that is right now. We should be doing more, but we aren't because we're still a little resource strapped.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Now, this should all be reflected in a really incredible net annual kind of revenue retention rate. What, I assume you're well above 100. How far above?
Yeah, I think on a monthly basis, we're like, our net churn is like negative 2.5%, 3% per month.
When you look at the revenue retention annually, how far above 100% are you? Do you know?
Oh, I haven't looked at that recently, but yeah, it's every year. It's very, very solid growth. I don't remember off the top of my head.
That's okay. Do you know what a year, like if a year one account is 13 grand, typically what that usually morphs to in year two?
I think on average, I think in a lot of the cohorts, it's double.
Okay.
Doubling. So I would have to look. It is a little chunky because we tend to go after super high growth companies. So we have a lot of the fastest growing companies in the world, and these just naturally are growing incredibly fast.
Yeah.
So it does depend, but a lot of the cohorts are growing. Yes, they're all growing at a very nice rate. I would have to look at the exact number.
Let's go back to the initial sale. Fully weighted CAC on a $13,000 ACV account is what? How aggressive are you comfortable being?
Yeah, it's interesting. Getting the average is hard because we do have these massive deals and so on. When I calculate it, it's about 7.9K, so around 8K, let's say. But it does depend. Most of our sales is not through marketing costs. It's actually the cost of doing sales, the cost
inside sales team, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. So around 8K.
Yeah. So around 8K to get a $13,000 account, that's like a 9-month payback period. Does that payback period hold no matter if the first year ACV is $1 million or $1? It's usually always a 9-month payback typically.
It's pretty much, yeah. If anything, our large deals just pay back faster.
Yeah, that's interesting. Talk to me, since you come from kind of being inside sales organizations, writing sales code, you have 360 degree. How have you structured your inside sales team?
Yeah, we have basically a one-to-one pair of SDR and AE, so like a pod structure it's now called, and we give them a target list and they just work on capturing those accounts where we know we can provide value. We do a traditional comp model pretty much, and everything else is fairly traditional. A lot of the classic things just work, and classic incentive.
Well, for people listening might not know traditional. So when you say traditional, you're talking your total potential salary, 60% is base, 30% is commission usually, or what?
Yeah, roughly 60-40, I think, is what we do roughly. And then we set a monthly goal for them, and then whatever they hit on that gives them, the percentage of their commission. And then we have accelerators, and accelerators are key in a sales structure, so that if they blow out their month, they're going to make a lot of money, which is good for us and them. Yep. So if they close a few large deals in a month, they're going to have very good months, and that's what we want to incentivize.
And both same plan for SDRs and the AE, or just the AE?
That's just the AE. SDRs have a meeting goal, and we use a point system, which I think is the way to go. Basically, if there's certain competitors that we think we can win against more, we go after them, and they get more points, or certain sizes, or they get a top 10 list. If they get that, they get a chunk of the revenue as well. So it's a little more complex, but we just incentivize the behaviors that we know will drive business success.
Yeah. So it's kind of like when I go to Chuck E. Cheese, I buy tokens and I get 7,000 tickets because I won the good games. The question then becomes, well, what are those points actually worth to the SDR? What do they exchange those points for?
Yeah, it's just straight money.
Oh,
As
it's
far as,
exclusive their
yeah,
salary.
yeah, it's basically, let's say their goal is 15 points. If they have, 30, that means they get 200% of their on-target earnings.
Oh, really interesting. Interesting. That is a arcade that I'd want to go visit. Everyone would want to play that game.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. And then talk to me about total team size today.
Yeah, we're at about 35 today.
35. And how many of those folks are sales?
10 in sales, and then about 10, 12 in engineering, and then basically
Admin.
others. Yeah.
Yeah. And where's everyone? Everyone in San Fran?
Yep. No, we now have a couple people in San Diego, and then 3 people in Seattle.
Okay, very good. That's great. So growing. Any plans to raise?
That's the big question right now.
Yeah. It sounds like you're cash flow positive, though, so you don't need to.
We don't need to. We can definitely be in a nice spot, but at the same time, we're in a market, I'm sure you're aware of, that's very competitive.
Yep.
So at some point, it makes sense to just go a little faster yet, and we'll probably, consider that.
Yeah. If you do, this is obviously all hypothetical. If you do decide to raise at your current kind of economic structure and your current, run rate, how much would you like to raise?
That's the part I need to figure out. I would say, it would have to be a reasonable amount for it to make sense. Otherwise, we should just grow this way. So I'm not sure, honestly. I would say it's going to be more than 5 million, though. If we would.
More than 5. And when you say reasonable, like what does that like? You mean worth your time to do the whole funding process?
No, if we're going to go that route, we need to know we can make some great investments, and those investments have to be, big enough that we just don't make those with, bringing on new customers and doing it naturally. So if we're going to do it, I think it makes sense to go one route or the other.
I see what you're saying. And if you do raise 5, I mean, you're well connected in the valley. You probably hear valuations thrown out all the time. But if you do raise 5 at your kind of current levels, I mean, what kind of valuation do you think you could probably get?
I have no idea. I haven't went out and had any conversations yet. I think we would just like to, if we did, we would just want a valuation that would be the next, milestone that we can march to, that was made sense for both sides. That's how we've always built this business, and we want to continue to. It's not fully bootstrapped, but it's also not this hyper, raising insane amounts of money.
Yeah. So if we have a lot of investors listen to the show. If one of them reach out to you after it goes live and says, "Hey, Chris, would you consider like a 5 on a 30 pre?" I mean, is that an email you'd read?
I think it depends who they are, probably.
Good answer. Assuming that's a great fit, though, economically, is that the kind of ratio you're looking for?
Yeah, probably. I think whatever the norm is for the market, I would have to talk to everyone.
It's very different. If you're in San Fran, it's very different than if you're in Idaho, right?
Yeah.
By the way, I love Idaho. So there's a lot of great bootstrap companies out there. Talk to me real quick before we wrap about product. So again, this space is very fragmented. Yep. Is your model basically just keep having your engineers create add-ons because X% of your base is going to upsell that and it grows your revenue that way? I mean, what does structure look like product-wise?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just continuing to build out where we're strong. We focus more on AEs, where a lot of the space focus on this sales development area. So I think that is one thing different. There are a few new areas that I'm very excited about, this whole account-based area and so on, that I think are really interesting. We're building some cool features. So right now, it's more we can't keep up on the product side. We will continue to add different modules, but a lot of it is just reinforcing where we're strong and providing more value to the customer. Yeah. And even on that, we have a long way to go.
Yeah. Very good, Chris. Let's wrap up here with the famous 5. Number 1, what's your favorite business book?
I'm just started one that just recently called Scientific Advertising. It's like incredibly old, maybe in 1920s or something.
Is that Ogilvy?
No, it's someone else. I forgot. Charles something, I think. It's interesting. It's free. It's pretty interesting.
We'll look it up. Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
I really like Naval from AngelList. I think he has a lot of interesting thoughts.
Yeah. Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building the business?
I would have to say Gusto. It just takes away a lot of things that, would be a lot of work and I wouldn't want to normally do.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, Josh was on the show recently, I would say they're potentially looking at an IPO in the next 12 months if the market stays hot. We'll see.
Yeah.
Number 4, how many hours of sleep are you getting every night?
Well, I have a baby right now, so not much, but I am trying to actively do more or sleep more, so I'm shooting for 7. But
Okay. And so it sounds like married, kiddo. How many kids?
2 kids, both under 2.5, and
Woo.
married. Yeah,
And how old are you, Chris?
34.
34. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Um, I would say, I would just stress the importance of compounding. Everything in life is compounding, and in setting good habits at the beginning as early as possible is important because everything takes longer than expected.
Guys, everything takes longer than expected. Groove founder Chris joining us again, just past about $5 million in ARR. That's up more than double year over year. 400 customers paying about $1,000 per month is how we get to that number. Net revenue retention well over 100% year over year. They've raised about $3.8 million to date. They're using that in the form of CAC, for example, spending about $8,000 to acquire a $13,000 a month customer. So about a 9-month payback period, no matter which cohort you're looking at, small customer, big customer, etc. Team of 35 folks based in San Francisco, Seattle, and other remote locations, founded in 2014. Chris, thanks for taking us to the top.
All right. Thank you for having me.